It was around 2 in the morning when I heard the faint creak of my bedroom door. The sound was soft, almost nothing, but enough to pull me halfway from sleep. I stayed still, keeping my breathing steady, pretending I hadn't noticed. Sometimes, pretending to sleep is the best way to see what people do when they think you can't. Through barely open eyes, I saw her, my sister, moving cautiously across the room. Every step was measured, her hand shaking just a little as she reached for my wallet on the dresser. The glow from her phone screen lit up her face, and for a second, I saw the smirk of someone who thought they'd gotten away with something. Within moments, my credit card was gone, and so was she. By morning, $15,000 had vanished. First-class flights, designer shopping bags, fancy hotels. Her trip to Tokyo looked like a dream vacation, shared with our cousin she always called her other sister. When I told Dad, he just laughed it off. "You're imagining things," he said. "Your sister would never steal from you." I didn't argue. I just smiled, because what he didn't know was that the card she used didn't belong to me anymore. Growing up, she and I were inseparable. We shared everything: secrets, birthdays, heartbreaks. Whenever our parents fought, she'd slip into my bed and whisper, "We'll always have each other." I believed her. She was good at making lies sound like love. Over the years, I cleaned up after her. Unpaid bills, broken phones, messes she'd leave behind whenever things went wrong. I thought that's what family loyalty meant. Turns out, it just made me predictable. Her biggest betrayal wasn't taking the money. It was how easily she acted like nothing happened. A few days later, she started posting pictures online. Glass of champagne in one hand, shopping bags in the other. Captioned, "Hard work pays off." I stared at the screen, thinking about how easily she could justify her actions. When I texted her about it, she replied, "It's just money. Don't be so dramatic." That was when something inside me shifted. I didn't cancel the card. I didn't even report it missing, because 2 weeks earlier, I'd already changed everything. The account she'd used wasn't my personal one. It was a monitored business account under my company, connected directly to a fraud detection team. Every single thing she bought, every charge she made, was being logged and tracked. I didn't need to chase her. I just had to wait. When she came home, she was glowing from her trip, pretending as if nothing had happened. "Got you a souvenir," she said, tossing me a cheap plastic keychain. Dad stood behind her with a frown. "You owe your sister an apology," he said. "Stop accusing her of stealing." I looked at her carefully, at the false confidence in her eyes, and nodded. "You're right, Dad," I said. "Must have been a misunderstanding." That night, I made a single phone call. "You can proceed," I told the investigator. The next morning, her world began to unravel. Fraud alerts, bank freezes, a knock at the door, identity theft, wire fraud, unauthorized spending. Each one tied directly to her name, her passport, her tickets. The investigation didn't need me. The evidence spoke for itself. I just watched her confusion grow into panic. "Why is this happening?" she screamed. "Why are they saying I stole something?" I didn't answer. 2 days later, I found her sitting on her bed, surrounded by paperwork and tears. "They're saying I might lose my job," she whispered. "They think I committed fraud." I leaned against the doorframe and said quietly, "You did." I placed a little keychain she'd given me on her nightstand. "Souvenirs," I said, "are supposed to remind us where we've been." That night, Dad called again, furious. "Family doesn't destroy family," he said. I replied, "Family doesn't steal at 2 in the morning." He didn't say another word. A month later, the charges were dropped, but the damage stayed. She had to repay everything, and though the bank settled the case, her reputation was gone. Even Dad couldn't defend her anymore. Now, when she passes me in the hallway, she doesn't meet my eyes. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's shame. Either way, I sleep soundly these days. Sometimes I still wake around 2 a.m., look at the same dresser, still untouched, and smile. Because the money was never the point. The lesson was, and she learned it one very expensive way,